I don't really remember the moment when I fell in love with books, but I do know that by the time I was 8 or 9 years old, my big passion was science fiction. As I think about sci-fi, the truth is, I guess that it was the perfect fit for someone who back in the day wanted to be or to become an astronomer. So I spent countless hours reading about spaceships, time travel, robots, and stuff like that. During those days, my favorite author was Isaac Asimov. Do you know him? Yeah, to me, he was the best, and I had so much fun reading many of his books. So as I was preparing these remarks, a particular story came back to my memory. Now, I don't really recall much of what I read 35 years ago, but this specific story shocked and fascinated me at the same time. Its name is The Feeling of Power, and although Asimov published it in 1958, it actually seems more relevant today than ever before. Do you know the story, The Feeling of Power? Shame on you. Oh, thank you. Otherwise, my sermon is over. The premise of the story is pretty straightforward. In the future, computers are handling all possible mathematical calculations, leaving humans completely clueless about basic math principles. In this context, Asimov introduces us to a low-grade technician with a rather unusual hobby. He loves disarming all computers. So as he delves into this pastime and engages in some kind of reverse engineering, he stumbles upon the ability to perform some mathematical functions without the use of a calculator. So, yes, you got it right. The story's plot is that this technician discovers that he can do some good old math just using his mind. So the feeling of power then is what he experiences as soon as he realizes that he has a computer in his own head. Boom. Now, the reason I was struck by this story was probably because as a young student, it was surreal to think about a scenario in which humans were unable to do some basic math. Perhaps, given that I wasn't such a great math student myself, that's the way I didn't become an astronomer, I became a rabbi instead, I still, kind of look at the heavens from a different perspective. But the truth is that given I wasn't such a great student, I saw in this story a great escape to the times in which I wouldn't be required to do multiplications and divisions on end. In any case, it is very clear that Asimov wrote this story as a cautionary tale against the mental atrophy that happens when we increasingly rely on our computers. Today, that warning remains profoundly relevant, particularly in the context of what we call AI, or artificial intelligence. So when discussing the risks of AI, the Israeli scholar Noah Yuval Harari believes that what is especially dangerous about it is that for the first time ever, we have created a technology capable of generating new ideas and making decisions on its own. This whole situation opens the door to very scary scenarios, such as if AI can think independently and eventually concludes that in order to save the planet, it must wipe out the human race from the face of the earth, well, I guess that if that happens, then we won't have to keep waiting for the Titans to win the Super Bowl. Certainly not this season. There are two important takeaways from this whole conversation. On the one hand, as Harari likes to say, we must regulate both the development and the deployment of AI in the public sphere to avoid betting against ourselves. But on the other hand, and more importantly, we need to get our act together. We don't need a super smart computer to tell us that we have caused terrible damage to our planet. We know better, or at least we should know better. In any case, I wanted to speak about Asimov's tale while reflecting on the challenges posed by the artificial intelligence revolution, because I am interested in a somehow related question that is oftentimes asked in our days. And that question is whether the computers are here or in track to eventually replace us. As I delve deeper into this concerning thought, I am increasingly convinced that they won't be able to take our place. In a few years from now, like 2029, at least according to James Cameron, computers might try to send a couple of Terminators back to the past looking to get rid of us, but they won't ever be able to stand in for us. And to prove my point, let me share with you a beautiful story that I heard not long ago. Have you ever been to London? Show hands. How many of you have been to London? Very good. Now, if you find yourself there and you decide to ride the tube, which is the British equivalent of the subway, you will hear a simple announcement as the train approaches the station. At that moment, a voice advises the passengers to mind the gap, which is the British way of saying, watch your step. Now, as a side note, isn't it cute that an American rabbi born in Argentina is translating some British English to American English for you? You're welcome, you're welcome. So according to the story, a woman named Margaret McCallum used to visit one of London's tube stations every day. She would go there, sit down as the trains came and left. Now, why did she do that? Because on that particular station, the recording for the famous Mind the Gap was made by her husband, Oswald Lawrence, sometime in the mid-50s. Margaret and Oswald met in the 90s and fell in love. They spent the next 25 years together until Oswald's death in 2007. So after Oswald's passing, Margaret started going to the train station on a daily basis to hear her beloved's voice. Listening to the recording brought her comfort and eased her pain, allowing her to keep his memory alive at the same time. One morning in 2012, as she waited for the train to arrive, she heard the announcement, but something was wrong. For reasons unknown, the London Underground administrators had made the decision to change the old recording with a new digital one. From that day forward, a computerized voice was going to be in charge of warning people to watch their steps. Margaret was utterly heartbroken. For 5 long years, she had faithfully visited the station every day, awaiting to hear the sound of her husband's voice, and now his comforting presence wasn't there anymore. Determined to make things right, Margaret took action. She reached out to the Transport for London and passionately pleaded her case. Those who heard her request were deeply moved by her. In an inspiring display of empathy, they decided to bring the old recording back. So today, if you happen to travel to London and go to the Embankment Tube Station, which is not far away from the iconic Trafalgar Square, you'll be able to listen to Oswald's voice, gently reminding everybody to mind the gap as the trains arrive. So when my dear friend and colleague, Rabbi Fabian Werbin, told me about this story, I immediately knew that I wanted to share it with you today, right before Yizkor, because if there's a gap that we really need to keep in mind, that is the one that separates us from the machines. Computers may be able to excel at math in ways that we cannot, and powerful AI may be capable of writing better sermons than this one. No doubt. But they won't ever be able to provide the warm embrace that only a mother can give, or to cheer us up as only a loving parent can do. No robot will be able to replicate the warmth of human touch, and no artificial intelligence will be there for us during our most personal struggles. Those machines can't make us laugh or cry or fill our hearts with either a measure of longing or a ton of joy, as only the people we truly love can. That is why we are gathered here today, as we prepare ourselves for the recitation of Yizkor. Together as a congregation, we remember those who made a significant difference in our lives. We recall those who helped us become the individuals we are today. Some remember parents and grandparents, while others remember brothers, sisters, and dear friends. Some cherish the memories of their lifelong partners, and others are here to recall children who were taken from them way before their time. United in shared grief, we find solace in each other's presence, as we hope that through our collective effort, we will be blessed with a measure of healing and relief. And you know what? This sense of togetherness that we are creating right now is a testament to the most important power that we can ever experience. Not the power that comes from the ability to do some math in our heads, but the fact that we are here to assist one another through thick and thin. It is the powerful feeling of knowing that we are not alone, that we are here standing together, shoulder to shoulder, and that we are called to lift each other up. Because nothing is as powerful as the feeling of realizing that we belong, that nobody is expecting us to be perfect, and that no one is giving up on us. Nothing is as powerful as hugging our children and letting them know how much we love them. And nothing is as powerful as holding our loved ones tight as we share with them some words of encouragement and support. Today, as we bring sweet memories back into our hearts, we hope to find the inspiration to continue both loving and living. And while the pain of our personal losses may never completely go away, we are here to draw strength from those who loved us the most. Their memories continue to motivate us to keep on going and giving. We are here because of them, because of those who are still alive, and also for the sake of those who will come after us. All of them are the reasons behind our feeling of power, and that is why we have to keep minding the gap. So as we get ready for the recitation of Yizkor, may the memories of those we remember today be always a blessing to us. May they inspire us to live lives of meaning and purpose, and may we follow in their footsteps as we assume the responsibility of making a positive difference in those who are still around us. May God be a source of strength and resilience to all of us as we mourn those we have lost. And may we find relevant ways to honor all of them today and every day of our lives. And let us say, Amen. Please open your booklets on page 5 as we will now begin. with the recitation of Yizkor.